Hi guys, it's Erin from Ginger's Florals. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about some of my favorite dried flowers. I want to talk about when I cut them, how I dry them, how I store them, and then how I use them. There's a lot of flowers that can be dried. There's a couple rules of thumb. Generally, if it's sort of papery, the petals are ready, like a strawflower or a statice or a, oh, I can't think of another one off the top of my head at the moment. They're kind of half dried on the plants already, so there's a good chance that they're going to dry well. But on the flip side, if they have really thin, soft, like papery, not paper thin, but not papery petals, like take a Cosmo for instance, really soft, thin petals, but when you dry something, the moisture evaporates and the petals will desiccate, and a thin wafer-like petal that's already super thin and wispy generally doesn't last very long. That's not 100% all the time. There are some thin petaled flowers that do really well, but something like a Cosmo or a Lavaterra, they're not going to dry well for you. So I'm going to start with the classics that I grow. I do use in bouquets, but I grow a lot of them specifically for drying, like straw flowers. This is a bunch from last season that I never got around to using. As you can see, these were the dark colored straw flowers, just like the ones I have out in my field right now. And they have maintained basically the same color that they had when I picked them. They have opened up a bit, so that's something to know about straw flowers in particular. When you cut them, you want them not to be all the way closed up, but you want them just to barely be opening up at the center so that it doesn't blow all the way out, because this is just the seed head, and this will fall apart eventually if you cut them too late. Like this one is probably too late. But some of them are still pretty closed up. Like these guys right here, that's pretty closed up. It's not going to open up any more than that, so you won't risk too much of it. You don't have too much risk of it falling apart. But straw flowers are classics. They come in a wide range of colors, from peach to pink to white, burgundy, anything but blue really. There's not a lot of, I don't think I've seen purple either, but they already dry super easily. I just, like you see here, I bind them, hang them, and then just let them sit for a couple weeks in a dry place that's out of the sun, and they'll do just fine. And they'll last a really long time. Another classic is statice. A lot of people grow statice specifically for drying. Out in the field, it looks just like this, save for the stems are darker green, and the white in particular will fade, get a little more dingy looking. But all the rest of the colors, they stay pretty close to what they started out. Bright purples and pinks and orange, and we have peachy colors, and they really do hold up just like that. And they're sort of papery, just like the straw flowers. They're classic, easy to dry flower. The next one I wanted to talk about is Gomphrena. This is a globe amaranth. These also dry super well. They're really sort of dried on the plant as it is. I have a couple of colors down there this year. Bright pink, I think it's called Carmine, and then this orange one. This also was cut and dried last year, and you can see how bright it still is. Another classic that I love to grow and dry is larkspur. I didn't actually grow any this year. Excuse me, I tried. It failed. They didn't ever sprout, but I have some left over from last year. Again, this deep, bright blue purple color. This was cut last spring and dried. As long as you keep it in the dark and in a dry place, it'll hold up. And isn't that color just amazing in dried flower arrangements? It looks gorgeous, and it draws people's attention, because you think, a lot of people, myself included, from back when I was a kid, when my stepmom or my mom had dried flowers somewhere, it was generally kind of browns and whites and not real colorful, but things have changed. People have discovered, I have discovered anyways, for myself, brightly colored flowers that look gorgeous in arrangements. Another one that is a really good drying flower is celosia. This one didn't get quite the same. I didn't pick it quite early enough. You really want to pick it right at its peak. I let this one go a little bit to seed. That's why the bottom part of this is a bit more dingy. But this feathery pink top, that's just like it looked on the plant. These are a little bit more delicate than the others. They tend to fall apart a little bit faster, but like I said, this is from last summer, cut, dried and stored, and it's done really well. Most, I can tell you, for the time to pick dried flowers, you really want to get them right at their peak, just like if you were cutting it for a fresh flower. A lot of the flowers that I end up drying, I had cut for a bouquet for the market. If it didn't sell, I'll take it home and bunch it up and hang it and dry it. And because I know that I picked those flowers at their peak, so they'll last the longest for in the dried arrangements, or just being dried and stored by itself. Another pretty classic is amaranth. This is I think this one is one of my autumn touch amaranth. Yeah, it's got this brown, coppery brown color and the green color on the same stems. This one, as long as you cut it before it starts to go to seed, it will hold up very, very well. It'll never stand straight up. It's always gonna flop, so it'll always have a bit of movement. Which I kind of like. It gives it a bit more, well, it gives it more movement, it gives it more life than just a static dried flower that just sits in one direction and never moves again. But these dry beautifully well. If you let them go a little too far though, and if they start to build any seed, they'll start to fall apart. They'll crumble, the petals will fall, the seeds will fall. They won't last, and they'll be a mess in the house. Another one that is maybe a little more surprising that I grow and cut and dry, this is the bee balm. You can see the little bits of purple that are still in there. I have some drying up right now, right in front of me. It's really beautiful. And when you first, it's really hard to get green to stay in a dried flower. This one, it's still there. A lot of greens will bleach out. They'll turn kind of brown or a beigey type color, but this one does pretty well. A couple other ones do well. Bells of Ireland will hold its green. Buplurum will hold its green. But the minute you let them sit out in the sun, they'll start to bleach out real fast. So it's really important to make sure that they don't end up in the sun. Another one that might be surprising is zinnias. I know I never really consider them to be dried flowers, but these make really beautiful, I know they make really beautiful kind of focal flowers in a dried arrangement. They do beautifully. They're, especially if you have a really big zinnia, it will shrink up. They always do because the moisture is leaving them, but it'll hold up decently well. This is probably the size of a 2-inch zinnia that's been dried, and it's, you know, an inch and a half wide. But you put a few of these into an arrangement and it looks quite lovely. You can see in this one here, that's a zinnia. They work really well. Surprisingly, a lot more than I had anticipated. Some of the bright colors will darken. They don't fade when they dry. They get deeper and darker. So you're not going to have generally like a bright orange or a bright red zinnia once it dries. It'll be this darker color, which I love. I try to be generally a little bit more subtle when I'm doing dried arrangements. I don't know, there's something weird. It's something about that people like the bright colors when they're buying fresh flowers, but when they're going to have something in their house that's going to last a long time, like a dried arrangement of some kind would, they tend to wants softer colors or less crazy colors. I don't know how to say that otherwise. Another really good dried flower that I like to grow is, this is Love in a Mist. Now this one, you don't cut it obviously when it's in flower. You wait until it goes and creates these seed pods. And these are just beautiful, interesting. The kind of webbing that the skeleton basically of the flower structure wraps around the seed pod. I just think they're just, I think they're gorgeous. They are a little delicate. It's not like a poppy seed where it's like hard, but they're pretty sturdy. They'll hold up really quite well. And the color holds itself. It's usually this kind of burgundy brown with a beige tan on the other side. I love these. They make, if you haven't noticed watching any of my other videos, I like the more interesting, different conversation starter type flowers in all of my arrangements, including in dried arrangements. Okay, so now I want to turn around the camera and I'll show you how I dry them. This year we're doing it outside at least through the dry part of the season. Beyond that, we'll take them inside to in the house where it's guaranteed to be dry. Right now it's late July, and July through August we don't really get any rain at all, so this is a good time to do it outside. So let me flip the camera around. So here we have amaranth and statice. This is another kind of statice, a new one for me this year. It's called rat tail statice. I love the shape of it. More amaranth. This is the bee balm. Let me turn it around. This is the bee balm that turns that really pretty blue and green. And then we have strawflowers, zinnias. Aren't these cool looking while they're drying? I love them so much. And then Dusty Miller is a really good dried foliage. And then we just have more zinnias and that one pretty strawflower. So I'll show you a couple of dried flower bouquets that I've made. And then I'll pop some pictures up from some, I do like to make wreaths, and going towards winter, I'll make dried flower ornaments for a Christmas tree. They're really pretty. It's a really simple, it's just a glass or plastic clear bulb, and I'll fill it with different colors of dried flowers, and they look really pretty. So let me show you a couple of these bouquets right here that I have left over. And then, like I said, I'll put some pictures up and show you the wreaths and the Christmas ornaments. So this guy, that's really pretty. This is Bupleurum. When I put it in here, it was green. It sat in the sun a little bit. But all the zinnias and the statice, they're all holding their color. And the larkspur, they're just so pretty. This here is Dara, the not catmint. It's this here is Dara. It's Queen Anne's lace, and then the Gomphrena. These here, all these little guys. This is actually feverfew. They looked really cool when they first went in, and probably if they didn't go outside into the sun a little bit, they would have held up better. These are straw flowers. How amazing are these? Straw flowers and the same. There's more of the same. That's just some amaranth and larkspur and Dara. I have a really fun time putting together these bouquets. Okay, and like I said, I've made wreaths before that I loved. I have one that's actually hanging, two of them. One that's hanging on one of our guest bedroom doors, and another one. One of them is made out of purely Dusty Miller, that silvery color. That's just one whole wreath, and I loved it. I sold several of them at the farmers markets. And then another one that I did that I loved a whole lot, and it's super colorful. I'll put a picture up. It has all kinds of different flowers on it. Everything from well, pretty much everything that we talked to today, and a couple of other items that are on there that the whole thing is just beautiful. And I made it last year. I put it on the door to our guest bedroom last fall, and it has been there ever since, and it looks exactly the same as it did. It doesn't get any sunshine, any direct light. It stays that even temperature in the house. It stays dry, so it's going to hold up quite a bit longer. I've already had a couple of customers ask if I'm going to make more wreaths for this fall. When the flowers start to fade, I start to get creative in other ways, and I'll make wreaths and whatnot to take down to the market. And then the other thing, like I said, is the little ornaments. They're really sweet. They do take a little bit of time just because you have to pull apart all these beautiful flowers to get them into the ornaments, but they're really pretty and people seem to really enjoy them. So I'll probably do that again, and take them to the market. At the end of our market is in October. So people are starting to think about some of their holiday items that are coming up into the future. So, okay, well, I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I know there's so many different options for what dries really well. You could dry hydrangeas, you can dry roses, you can dry some types of black-eyed Susans. I've seen sunflowers dried. Really anything that you can grow out there, you can dry. It's just a matter of how well it's going to hold up. But if you like it and you want to keep it, give it a try. I fully encourage you to give everything a try. I've taken many times, I've taken just the whole bouquet from the market if it didn't sell and hung it. Just the whole thing as is. And you can see really quickly what will dry well if you just give that a try. And they're not difficult to pull apart once you let them sit. It usually takes a couple... depending on the flower, it can take up to a couple of weeks in a dry location for them to fully dry. And then once they are dry, I meant to show you, I really just keep my flowers in a bin. Here, let me show you. So I have these bins, you know, just your classic Costco storage bins full of dried flowers. As long as you keep them, you know, in a shed, in your garage, somewhere that's going to be pretty dry. You can even put desiccant in like the little packets that you can find into the bin to make sure to absorb any extra moisture. That's the two biggest killers for your dried flowers are obviously moisture. The name kind of gives that one away. And then sunshine. Sunshine will fade out any dried flower. So keep them out of direct light. Keep them dry, and they will last you a really long time. Any kind of dried flower is sort of, they're all a little bit brittle. So moving them around a whole lot is not necessarily recommended, but you can. As long as you're careful, you take your time, it's okay. You can do it. So don't be afraid of them. Give them a try. Get creative. If you have any ideas for things that you have done with dried flowers, leave them in the comments. I'd love to hear it. I might even try some, see how my hand is at something different. I like crafty things, especially in the fall when the flowers are kind of done. So again, if you like this, leave a thumbs up. If you haven't yet subscribed, I encourage you to give it a try. I encourage you to consider it, and then I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.